Rule number 1. The deck is always trying to kill you. This is the first thing a new worker learns. It is not a metaphor. The steel deck of an oil platform in the North Sea is a landscape of machinery, high-pressure lines, and trip hazards. Every surface is coated in a thin film of salt spray and grease. A wrong step, a moment of distraction can lead to a fall, a broken bone, or worse. The rule is simple because survival here depends on simple, unbreakable truths. This is not an office. It is not a factory on land. It is a city on stilts, anchored to the seabed in one of the most hostile marine environments on Earth. The work does not stop for bad moods or tired minds. The platform exists for one reason: to drill deep into the planet's crust and pull up oil and gas. This process is loud, relentless, and incredibly dangerous. The environment itself is the first enemy. The wind can gust to over 100 miles per hour. Waves the size of office buildings can crash against the platform's support legs. The metal groans under the strain. Below the main deck, the sea churns a cold, dark grey. A fall into that water offers a person only a few minutes of survival. The cold is a shock that can stop the heart instantly. Every person on the rig knows this. They do not talk about it often. They do not need to. The reality is present in the safety gear they wear every single day. It is in the emergency drills they practice until the motions are automatic. The rule about the deck is part of a larger system of survival. You do not run. You always use handrails. You check your harness. You watch where your crewmates are standing. These are not just suggestions. They are commands. They are the collected wisdom of decades of hard lessons learned in this place. The platform is a marvel of engineering, a testament to human ingenuity. But ingenuity alone does not keep people safe. Discipline does. Respect for the power of the sea and the power of the machinery is essential. The deck does not care about your experience level or your reasons for being there. It remains a place of constant impartial risk. Surviving it for a day or for a 20-year career means never forgetting the first rule. It means treating every step as the most important one you will take. This place is called a fixed platform. It stands in the middle of the North Sea, over 150 miles from the nearest coastline of Scotland. To get here, you fly for 90 minutes in a helicopter. From the air, the platform looks like a complex toy. It is a dense collection of cranes, towers, and modules painted bright yellow and orange. As the helicopter descends, the scale changes. The toy becomes a giant. The main deck is the size of 2 football fields. The drilling derrick, the main tower, rises 300 feet into the sky. The entire structure weighs more than 50,000 tons. It is held in place by massive steel legs pinned deep into the ocean floor, 1,000 feet below. Around 200 people live and work here at any given time. They are men and women from dozens of different countries. They work a rotation. A common schedule is 3 weeks on the platform, followed by 3 weeks off, back home. For those 21 days, the rig is their entire world. There are no exits. You cannot just leave. The only way on or off is the helicopter, which cannot fly in severe weather. The platform is entirely self-sufficient. It generates its own power using natural gas from the well. It desalinates its own drinking water from the sea. It has a kitchen, a laundry, a gym, a small movie theatre, and a medical clinic with a full-time doctor. It is a small industrial town, isolated by miles of open ocean. The demand of this place is absolute focus. The work is divided into 2 12-hour shifts. The day shift works from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The night shift takes over from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. This cycle runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It never stops for holidays or weekends. The well does not sleep. The pressure deep in the earth does not take a break. Therefore, the crew cannot either. The temperature outside can drop below freezing. The wind can cut through the thickest work gear. The noise from the drilling equipment and the generators is a constant roar. Inside this bubble of steel and noise, every single action has a consequence. A forgotten tool can fall and injure someone below. A misread gauge can lead to a system failure. Survival here is not just about enduring the weather. It is about total precision, day after day, in an environment designed for machines, not people. The entire operation is built around a system called the TOR. The word is pronounced tower, and it means a 12-hour shift. Your life is defined by this rhythm. You work your tour, eat, sleep, and then work your tour again. There is no other schedule. This system creates a constant state of operation. While one driller is sleeping, another is managing the drill floor. While one cook is finishing his shift, another is preparing the next meal. The rig's population is a team with a clear hierarchy. At the top is the Offshore Installation Manager, or OIM. The OIM is the ultimate authority on the platform. Their word is law. They are legally responsible for the safety of every person on board. Below the OAM are supervisors for each department: drilling, maintenance, marine operations, and accommodations. The drilling crew is the heart of the operation. The driller operates the complex machinery that controls the drill. They are highly skilled and work from a protected cabin filled with screens and controls. On the drill floor itself are the roughnecks and roustabouts. These are the general laborers. They perform the hard physical work. They handle massive sections of pipe, connect tools, and maintain the equipment. The work is physically demanding and requires immense strength and stamina. The core task is drilling. The rig sends a long string of connected pipes, called a drill string, down into the earth. At the end of the string is a drill bit with industrial-grade cutters. As it spins, it grinds through rock. To make this work, the crew pumps a special fluid down the pipe. This fluid is called drilling mud. It is a carefully mixed substance that cools the drill bit, carries crushed rock back to the surface, and most importantly, controls the immense pressure from the oil and gas trapped in the rock below. You can think of drilling mud as the platform's blood pressure medication. If the mud is too light, the pressure from the well can rush up the pipe, causing a catastrophic blowout. If the mud is too heavy, it can damage the rock formation. The balance must be perfect. At the very top of the well, on the seabed, sits a massive stack of valves called a blowout preventer, or BOP. This is the final line of defense. It is a multi-ton device designed to shear through the drill pipe and seal the well in an emergency. The system is a chain of command, mechanical process, and safety measures. Every link in that chain must hold. A worker's day begins long before their shift. The wake-up call is at 5 a.m. You have 30 minutes to get dressed and get to the mess hall for breakfast. The food on a rig is famously good. It has to be. It is one of the few comforts available. Steak, fresh fruit, and pastries are common. High-quality food is a critical part of maintaining morale. After breakfast, the crew gathers for a toolbox talk. This is a mandatory safety meeting. The supervisor goes over the tasks for the day. They discuss any potential hazards. They review safety procedures. Have the winds changed? Is a crane moving overhead? Is there a non-essential person on the deck? Every detail is covered. Then, the 12-hour shift begins. The work is a mix of intense physical labor and long periods of focused waiting. A roustabout might spend hours using a high-pressure hose to clean mud off the deck. The clang of their boots on the steel grating is a steady rhythm. The air smells of diesel fumes, hot metal, and the salty sea. That smell gets into your clothes and your hair. It never really goes away. Inside the driller's cabin, the noise is less, but the concentration is higher. The driller watches a dozen screens at once. They monitor the drill bit's speed, the pressure in the well, and the flow of the mud. Their hands are constantly adjusting controls, making tiny changes to keep the system in balance. Fatigue is a constant battle. After 6 or 7 hours of physical work in the cold wind, the body aches. After 10 hours of staring at screens, the mind feels dull. This is when mistakes happen. To fight this, workers rely on habit and teamwork. They learn to watch out for each other. A nod, a hand signal, a shared glance can communicate a warning or a need for a break. Water and coffee are consumed constantly. When the shift ends at 6 p.m., it is a slow walk back to the living quarters. First, you take off your steel-toed boots and greasy coveralls in a locker room. Then, a long hot shower to wash off the grime of the day. Dinner is another large meal, eaten with your crew. Afterwards, there are a few hours of personal time. Some go to the gym to burn off stress. Others watch a movie or read a book. Most make a call home. Hearing a familiar voice is a lifeline. But the connection is often slow, and the time difference makes it hard. By 9 p.m., most workers are in their small cabins, trying to sleep while the rig hums and vibrates around them. They have to be up again at 5 a.m. The cycle repeats, without change for weeks. The forecast predicted strong winds. That was normal for the North Sea in autumn. But the storm arrived faster than expected. The sky turned a dark, bruised purple. The sea, which had been choppy, began to swell into enormous, rolling mountains of water. An alarm blared across the platform. It was not the fire alarm or the abandoned ship alarm. It was the signal to secure the rig for heavy weather. All non-essential personnel were ordered indoors. The OIM's voice came over the intercom. His tone was calm but firm. All deck operations were suspended immediately. Cranes that had been lifting supplies from a boat below were now the biggest threat. A crane boom swinging freely in a high wind could destroy anything it hit. The crane operators worked quickly. They lowered the booms and locked them into their cradles. The deck crews, already clipped into safety lines, moved across the steel floor. Their job was to secure anything that could be picked up by the wind or a wave. That included toolboxes, stacks of pipes, and storage containers. They used heavy chains and tensioners, tightening them until they were bar-tight. The first of the big waves hit the platform's legs. A deep, shuddering boom echoed through the entire structure. It felt like a minor earthquake. The floor vibrated under their feet. The wind was a solid wall of force. It was hard to walk against it. The noise was deafening, a physical roar that drowned out all other sounds. Communication became a matter of shouting in someone's ear or using sharp, clear hand signals. A wave, larger than the others, crashed over the lower survival deck. It was a solid wall of green water, powerful enough to bend steel. The crew on the main deck, 50 feet higher, watched it happen. No one said a word. They knew that their safety depended on the engineering that designed the platform to withstand this exact moment. But knowing and feeling are two different things. A report came in over the radio. A section of railing on a lower walkway had been torn away by the water. The area was immediately sealed off. The pressure was not just outside. Inside the drilling control room, the driller monitored the well. The movement of the rig, swaying slightly in the storm, could put stress on the drill string deep below. They had to adjust the system, bleeding off pressure to compensate. The storm had turned their controlled, predictable system into a tense, reactive situation. The rig was no longer acting on the environment. It was enduring it. The crew did not panic. They were trained for this. Their movements were efficient and precise. They moved like a single organism with a shared purpose to protect the rig. The OIM stayed in the control room. It was the nerve center of the platform. He monitored the weather data on one screen and the rig's structural sensors on another. He was in constant communication with the department heads. He made the decisions. His crew carried them out. On the deck, the foreman of the roustabout crew checked each chain himself. He pulled on them with his full body weight to ensure they were secure. He moved from one tie-down point to the next, his face a mask of concentration against the driving rain. He trusted his team, but the final responsibility was his. He saw one of his younger workers struggling with a latch. The man's gloved hands were numb with cold. The foreman went over, tapped the man on the shoulder, and demonstrated the correct technique. He did not yell. He did not show frustration. He simply corrected the action. That small gesture was a lesson in leadership and teamwork under pressure. Inside, the platform's cooks started making pots of hot coffee and soup. They knew the deck crew would be coming inside soon, soaked and freezing. It was not part of their official duties. It was part of the unwritten code of the rig. Everyone takes care of everyone else. The medic went to the control room to be on standby. The drilling team made their adjustments, their actions small and deliberate. They were like surgeons, preventing a problem before it could become a disaster. The human response was a testament to procedure. Every action was guided by a rulebook written from past emergencies. There was no room for improvisation. In the face of overwhelming natural force, their only defense was their collective discipline. They did not fight the storm. They braced for it. They respected its power. They focused only on what they could control, the security of their equipment and the safety of their crewmates. They moved, they checked, they communicated, and then they waited. The storm would pass when it was ready. Their job was to make sure the rig was still there when it did. The storm raged for 8 hours. Then, as quickly as it had arrived, it began to subside. The wind dropped. The massive waves slowly shrank back to a manageable size. A pale, watery sunlight broke through the clouds. The OIM gave the all clear. The crew, who had been waiting indoors, began the process of damage assessment. They moved out onto the decks in small teams. The air was cold and clean. The roar of the storm was replaced by the familiar hum of the rig's machinery. The damage was mostly minor. The section of railing that had been torn away was the most significant loss. A few storage boxes had been dented where they strained against their chains. A communications antenna was bent at a sharp angle. The platform had held. The systems had worked. No one was injured. In the safety meeting the next morning, they reviewed the event. They talked about what went right. The response was fast. The tie-down procedures were effective. They also talked about what could have been better. The weather report had been inaccurate. They needed a better margin of error in their planning. The OIM made a new rule. For that time of year, all non-welded deck equipment must be secured at all times, not just when a storm was forecast. The lesson was clear. The rig could be prepared for a known threat. But the sea was unpredictable. You could not relax. You could not assume. Complacency was the real enemy. The event changed something subtle in the crew. The newer workers, who had never experienced a full-blown North Sea storm, now understood the reality of their workplace. They had seen the power of the water and felt the rig shudder. Their respect for the rules was no longer just theoretical. It was now based on direct experience. For the veteran workers, it was a reminder. It reinforced the lessons they had learned long ago. It stripped away any routine-born carelessness and brought their focus back to a sharp edge. The bent railing was a physical symbol of their vulnerability. They were living and working in a place that did not want them there. Their survival depended on their engineering, their training, and their unwavering attention to detail. The storm had been a test. They had passed. But they knew there would be other tests. The most dangerous part of the rig is not the stormy sea or the heavy equipment. For many, the greatest challenge is the quiet. It is the silence inside a worker's head during the 12 hours they are off shift. After a long day of deafening noise and intense focus, the sudden peace of a small private cabin can be unsettling. There is nothing to do but think. And for men and women thousands of miles from home, thoughts often turn to family. They think about the moments they are missing. A child's birthday, a school play, a simple family dinner. They are earning a good living to support their families, but the cost is their absence. This is the central irony of rig life. They leave home to provide for it. The isolation can be profound. While there are 200 people on the platform, the social rules are complex. You live and work with the same people for weeks on end. Small annoyances can grow into major conflicts. Privacy is a rare and valued commodity. Friendships are formed, but there is always a professional distance. You rely on your crewmates for your safety, but you might not share your personal fears with them. This creates a unique kind of loneliness, a loneliness in a crowd. The struggle continues during their time off. The transition from the rigid, high-stakes environment of the rig to the quiet rhythm of suburban life can be jarring. At home, the world can feel too slow, too quiet, too unstructured. The constant alertness they learned on the rig has nowhere to go. Some find it hard to reconnect with their families. They have been living in two completely different worlds. They are a provider and a protector, but also a temporary visitor in their own life. This psychological toll is the hidden layer of the job. The company provides resources like counselors and internet access. But the core problem remains. The work demands a part of you that is difficult to get back. The physical scars from this job are rare thanks to modern safety standards. The invisible scars, however, are more common. The real challenge is not surviving the storm outside. It is surviving the quiet inside. The existence of an oil rig is a study in human endurance. It is a modern expression of an ancient pattern. For centuries, people have gone to the most difficult and dangerous parts of the world in search of valuable resources. They have been sailors on whaling ships, miners deep underground, and explorers in frozen wastelands. The oil rig worker is a direct descendant of this tradition. They operate at the very edge of what is technologically and physically possible. The platform itself is a bubble of civilization in an alien environment. It is a self-contained world with its own rules, its own language, and its own culture. Life on the rig is a heightened version of life anywhere. It requires cooperation, trust, and a shared sense of purpose. The crew is a diverse group of individuals who must function as a perfect team. Their lives literally depend on it. This intense interdependence forges a powerful bond. It is a community built not on choice, but on necessity. The rig also represents a fundamental bargain of our modern world. We depend on a constant supply of energy. We use it to power our cars, light our homes, and run our industries. But this energy does not come from nowhere. It comes from places like this. It is extracted by people who accept immense risk and personal sacrifice. The life of a rig worker connects the abstract concept of energy to a real human cost. It links the simple act of filling a car with gas to a person working a 12-hour shift in a freezing storm, hundreds of miles from their family. It is a world of incredible contrasts. The technology is futuristic, but the labor is timelessly difficult. The isolation is extreme, yet the teamwork is absolute. The financial rewards are significant, but the personal price is high. By understanding what it takes to survive on a rig, we understand something deeper about the infrastructure that supports our lives. It is built on steel and circuits, but it is held together by human courage, discipline, and the will to endure. The helicopter lifts off the helipad. The platform shrinks below, becoming a complex toy once more. The constant, deep vibration of the rig fades, replaced by the rhythmic thumping of the rotor blades. The workers inside are quiet. They are staring out the windows, watching their temporary home disappear into the grey expanse of the sea. For 3 weeks, that steel island was their entire reality. Now they are transitioning back to another life. The journey home is a time of mental adjustment. The mind begins to let go of the hypervigilance required on the rig. Thoughts turn from pressure gauges and safety checks to grocery lists and family plans. The first sight of land is a welcome shock. The color green seems impossibly bright after weeks of seeing only grey water and painted steel. When they finally land, the world feels different. The ground is solid and unmoving. The air is still and quiet. There are new smells: cut grass, car exhaust, rain on pavement. These are the simple sensory details of a world they are rejoining. The first hug from a spouse or a child is the true reward. It is the moment that makes the sacrifice worthwhile. It is the anchor that holds them steady between their two lives. The people who do this work are not seeking fame or adventure. They are professionals. They are engineers, mechanics, cooks, and doctors who perform their jobs under extraordinary circumstances. They accept the risks and the isolation in exchange for a way to provide for the people they love. It is a life of difficult trade-offs, of long absences and joyful returns. It is a testament to their resilience and their commitment. It is a job that demands respect. If this taught you something real, subscribe so the next story finds you. YouTube queued up a good follow-up. See how these rules hold up elsewhere.